Hi, I'm Adam Shostack, and today I want to share with you some lessons about an anti-pattern in threat modeling, the BMAD approach. You don't yet know what that is, but you will by the end of this talk know not only what BMAD is, but how to avoid it in your threat modeling. Let me briefly introduce myself. I helped create the CVE earlier in my career. I'm on the review board for BlackHat. I wrote a book about threat modeling that people like, Threat Modeling Designing for Security. Created a game, Elevation of Privilege, to help people threat model. Created one of the first pieces of software, the Microsoft SDL Threat Modeling Tool, and these days advise a company, Arius Risk, focused on threat modeling. I do a lot of threat modeling, and a lot of that is through my company, Shostack Associates. We help our customers do this. So what I want to share with you today is really a story. It's a story about conflict between security and other teams. And we'll talk about that conflict, why it happens, why it's so persistent. I'm going to talk very briefly about threat modeling and then delve deep into the BMAD approach to threat modeling. So let's get going. Start out, and this talk, this idea, this discovery really starts with a conversation with a customer, and they said to me something like, every time our security champs go into a room, it's like they're walking into a minefield. They know something is going to blow up, and everyone in the room is just waiting for it to happen. Wow, I'm going to use the word unfortunate because this is a family conference. This is unfortunate. We don't want that. But this is a story that we hear over and over again. It's the story of conflict between security and engineering, the conflict between security and operations, security and the business. Why? Why does this conflict keep happening? I think I have part of an answer, and that answer is the BMAD approach. The problem is the BMAD approach. And there's this quip that you may have heard about interpersonal relationships, that our failed relationships have one thing in common, and that's us. We make the same mistakes over and over again. And we make them in our relationships, our interpersonal relationships, our work relationships, until we figure out what it is that we are doing and change that behavior. So, threat modeling, as I said, I'm going to keep this exceptionally brief because the Pacific Northwest AppSec conference has said we're going to do quick talks, and I love that. So, in 30 seconds, threat modeling, what it is, how it relates to threat intelligence, and it's easy. Boom, let's go. We start out with the 4-question framework, which informs and shapes all of our threat modeling. What are we working on? What can go wrong? What are we going to do about it? Did we do a good job? If you are simply asking those 4 questions, you're threat modeling. We can get into a lot of detail, specifics about how to do that in a more structured and systematic way, using data flow diagrams or stride or kill chains, but threat modeling is based on these 4 questions and how we approach them. We use stride, it's a mnemonic, helps us answer what can go wrong. Feel free to pause the video here or look up stride if you're not familiar with it. Oh, last thing, I told you I'd talk about threat intel versus threat modeling. Threat modeling is prospective. We do it as we're working on new systems or as we're adding security into old ones. We're anticipating problems rather than waiting for evidence of those problems to manifest and use our threat intelligence to help us figure out what's going wrong in those systems. I like being proactive. I hope you do too. Now, threat modeling is full of traps. We've got our little Admiral Akbar here because I can't do a talk without any Star Wars in it. Sorry. Not sorry. But this talk is about one particular trap, the BMAD trap. And yeah, so many traps indeed. And the other thing I want to mention, I've got a white paper, it's free, not even a reg wall, about the Jenga model of threat modeling. It's about 3 types of building blocks that we use. There are technical skills, data flow diagrams, stride, attack trees or kill chains. There's the interpersonal skills, listening, focus on solutions, compassion for the person you're talking to, respect for the person you're talking to. And there are the organizational disciplines. When do I need to do this? How do I get help? What if it isn't working out? Where do I store my documents? What do I name my documents? And we build, using these blocks, we build a tower that supports secure engineering and secure delivery of systems. And each of these blocks has a cost. And so we try and use as few of them as we can get away with while delivering a sufficiently secure tower. And I mention this because this talk is about organizational building blocks. And usually threat modeling talks are about those technical skills. And so it's a little bit different from what you might be used to seeing. So this talk, as I said, is organizational. It's about conflict. And this conflict emerges from good intention over and over again. In software security, we have lots of tools that we use. We use fuzzers, composition analysis, static analysis, security testing. And as we go to the left, there's more thought and engagement needed. And as we go up, there's more line engineer attention involved. And so down in the lower right corner, we see security development life cycles, SDLs. And there are people, many of you here at this conference, spend your time on SDL related work. And you push this to engineers via tickets, via gates, via nets. And many of those tools don't require the engineer to think particularly deeply about what they're doing. They respond to a ticket. Hopefully that ticket has help links in it. And they ensure that they're doing the right thing. And then threat modeling is up and to the right a little bit, where it actually requires some thought. And this creates this opportunity for problems to manifest. So I want to talk about how BMAD causes problems. Let me tell you a story. This is the developer view. The developer comes on in and says, hey, can you help us securing this system? And the security folks, represented by the ninja over on the right, say, sure, bring me a diagram. And the developer says, okay, sure. And what the developer is really thinking is, there's a diagram. I'm a developer. I'm not an artist. What are you looking for? But they know that security is important in 2021, and so they go and they try. So they come back and they say, hey, I've made you a comprehensive design diagram. It's this blueprint. It's high fidelity. It's detailed. And security is like, whoa, holy cow, there's a lot of problems here. And then the developers are like, what? Security is like, what? And we're in that minefield. So let me talk about the security team view. People are showing up all over the place saying, hey, can you help us secure this system? Can you help us secure this system? And this is awesome. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people were showing up hidden under rocks, camouflaging themselves, avoiding the security team in every way possible. That's changing. It's changing rapidly, and it's changing for the better. And security teams feel a little overwhelmed, and we're saying things like, bring me a diagram to help us scale. And look, there's so many things out there. There's so many things that we can pwn. And this is pwn, not PNW. So many things to go attack that we don't spend our time going and helping the teams proactively because we are stretched thin. And the diagrams that we want are actually different. We want sketches. We want whiteboards. We want early design thinking. But we've got this failure to communicate. And you've probably seen cartoons like this about the disconnect between what customers want, what people hear, what they deliver. And I like this one because it doesn't even have security in it. This is not a problem which is unique to security. Communication is hard. Effective communication requires working on developing, deploying skills to communicate well with the people around you. So what's happening here is miscommunication. What we have here is a failure to communicate. There's miscommunication about expectations, there's miscommunications about roles and responsibilities, and these things create problems. Now, some of you may be saying, Adam, this is so boring. I'm going to go hop into another track and never come back. Okay. Please don't, but I get it. It is much more fun to talk about the latest server-side include bug. It's much more fun to talk about really nifty attacks with packet overlaps. I get that. I do. And if we want to secure the systems that we're building, we need to influence their design. We need to get involved early. And when we get involved early, we can change their direction in ways that are hard. It's easy when it's a sketch. It's hard when there's blueprints. There's work that's gone into those blueprints. There's code. There's concrete that's been poured that has to be jackhammered out and removed. The earlier we engage, the happier everyone is. And so when we say, BMAD, or bring me a diagram, we are creating a problem. It's on us. We create this problem, and we can stop creating this problem. So there are things that make this problem happen. Again, when I say we're doing it, I'm not casting blame, I'm observing. Security teams are heavily loaded. There are very, very few AppSec folks who have real software design experience, real product delivery experience. Security teams are learning about threat modeling, and so they lack practical experience, and that means they don't necessarily have this opportunity to compare and say, oh, that's not working well, but I saw it work well over here. What's different about the last time I did it and this time? There's another problem, which is some of the advice on threat modeling out there doesn't include retrospectives. Again, when I talk about threat modeling, I talk about the 4-question framework. What are we working on? What can go wrong? What are we going to do about it? And did we do a good job? And that question is part of threat modeling to give us a chance to evaluate our threat modeling work and determine if we did a good job. And some folks cut it out for expediency and so lose that opportunity to discover that they're causing a problem. The other thing that's happening is development teams are getting more and more agile. That means we're threat modeling in smaller and smaller chunks. Maybe it's something we try and do once a quarter, and that leads to additional layers of mismatch. So let me talk about how we avoid the BMAD problem. And there are some technical steps we can do. If we talk about what we're working on as whiteboard level threat modeling, where we're really sketching something impertinent, where we're having a conversation, that gives us a very different approach to threat modeling than drawing our threat model diagrams in a tool, in something that gets checked into source code. And so talking about whiteboards helps you avoid BMAD. Izar Tarandok talks about threat model every story. And Izar and Matt Coles, by the way, have a new book on threat modeling from O'Reilly. It's cool. You should check it out. But Izar likes to say, threat model every story. And that helps you avoid BMAD. Big wall maps are something I'll talk about on the next slide. When we talk about deliverables, sample deliverables are super important. You can show what you want when you say, bring me a diagram. And the more it looks like a sketch, the less it looks like a finished product, the more people will bring you sketches rather than finished products. A finished product takes work, it takes effort, it takes refinement, and no one wants to redo that, so they do it as late as humanly possible. And when we talk about deliverables, it's really important to align them with the 4-question framework. You have a deliverable for what are we working on. You have a deliverable for what can go wrong. Maybe it's a list of bugs and it incorporates what are we going to do about it. Or maybe it's a set of tickets. But you don't need a threat modeling document or a threat model document as a deliverable, because that's probably not the way you're engineering your software. And the more aligned you are, the less people are going to say, be mad. You also need to think about your own skill in your own team. Does your security team have design skills or pen test skills? Do your development or operations team have security skills? How you allocate the work is dependent on what skills each team has. And so thinking that there's a one-size-fits-all answer leads people to be mad. So let me talk about big wall maps. And as we are talking about a return to work, we have this limited space, which is the walls in our offices. And we can only put so much up there. That's why we put Kanban boards on the walls. That's why we show what work we're doing, is to generate shared awareness. And this, if we can put a map of the software on the wall, then people can see this is what we're working on and make little changes to it as they go. There's some trickiness to this as we have increasing levels of remote work. I don't know of a great replacement for that limited budget that everyone sees all the time. Maybe you do. Maybe it's Zoom backgrounds. I would love to hear what you're using to manage shared awareness in today's very strange world. But if you have a big wall map, you can have a Scrum meeting and say, my story doesn't change this diagram. So what I'm working on probably doesn't have any elements of what can go wrong or any new things that can go wrong. Boom, you're done with threat modeling for right now. So organizationally, ask who delivers what to whom. I'm going to speed up because I'm supposed to get this in 20 minutes. Ask if threat modeling early is a win or a waste. Ask how much design work can your security team do, and consider looking for either more budget or a different distribution of work. And then ask how this balances with other work. I believe threat modeling is really high value when you make the investment, and that may lead to a different set of tasks, responsibilities, definitions of success, etc. Interpersonally, communicate expectations. Make it part of a meeting kickoff. So say something like, this is a collaborative working meeting. We're going to work through what can go wrong as well. Or say this is a design review meeting and 8 out of 10 of these, or 1 out of 10, have no stop ship issues. Set those expectations crisply and clearly at the beginning. With that, I want to say thank you. I'll be taking questions live. If you have questions afterwards, adam@shostack.org is my email. Again, thank you for your attention. 2 resources I want to share with you. 1, a group of 15 threat modeling experts wrote a threat modeling manifesto, patterns and anti-patterns, how to make this succeed. at threatmodelingmanifesto.org. Secondly, that Jenga white paper, associates.shostack.org/whitepapers. So you might want to check that out. And with that, happy to take the questions that you have.